Welcome to the week of November 7th watch list. I'm going to start by just going over the market quickly here. So, we had this little bit of a reversal candle here last Friday. Market overall still very weak, near all-time lows. Long setup still not really working, so I'm not going to be focusing too much on long setups. The SPY is showing a little bit of relative strength compared to the Qs. We still are above a couple moving averages here. I'm not super hopeful that we're going to have, this is going to be a higher low. But, I'm preparing for both sides of the market pretty much. So the stocks I'm watching this week start with AMD. Looks a lot like other semiconductor names. If you just look at the overall semiconductor index, still kind of reclaim this bear flag here, wedge. Not exactly sure what this will turn out to be. But for now, unless it really breaks and holds over this range coming this week, I'm still considering it a bear flag. And we'll still be watching it in the end for a breakdown. Wouldn't be tomorrow exactly. Would want it, to maybe go sideways a bit all week and then have a breakdown. But semiconductors actually showed a little bit of relative strength last week and that they bounced a little bit. Next we have Big C. This is not ready yet, but you can see here down 42% in 4 days. I'm looking for it as a mean reversion, but because it gapped down on such huge volume, I kind of want to see how it's going to play out in the next few days. But if this would gap down again, we can look for opening range high break for a long. A lot of the setups are similar to this that I'm looking at this week, just because there were a ton of gap downs on earnings, and so there could be potential setups coming. CTLT, same thing, down huge, 40% almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, big gap down under this long-standing range. We can easily see a reclaim at least to this level. Ideally, get another gap down. I don't think we're going to go test all the way quickly here, but if we get another 5-10% gap down, maybe we can get a nice setup. This is one of the only long setups I'm watching here, Epix EPIX. It's a biotech stock. We kind of been seeing some biotech names still play out well with breakouts. It had a huge volume day last week or the week before that. Over 100 million volume, up 130% one day. Now it's consolidating. The 10-day has caught up. We're kind of surfing around this level. Ideally, maybe we get one more day sideways before breaking out. It's a high ADR name. These things are kind of volatile. So if it broke out tomorrow over this 350, if it held over this 350 tomorrow, maybe 360, I take a small position with a stop at the low of day. If not, ideally, I want it to go sideways for 1 or 2 more days before taking it. But it looks pretty good. Still the same concept, although visually might not look as good. Up big, moving sideways, consolidating, tight range, and you want to see this break out further. Biotech is the only sector, like I said, that we've been seeing some of these follow through in breakouts. GBX, big breakdown in the stock. Big move up here, 50% move up. It's a lower ADR name, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days we've seen a 50% move. I'd like to see this again gap up into the $40 range and then fail. And I'd look for a short opening range lows instead of opening range highs on this one, since it's a mean reversion short. Next we have GTN. This is a pretty crazy move here. What is this? 42% down. These earnings and news plays are just getting a bit crazy recently. But I like that we're retesting this little trend line here, as well as the previous lows during COVID. Could be interesting. I'm not very excited about this one, but if we get another big gap down, I might look for it to reclaim. HRT, same concept, not ready yet, but it's on my watch list. 42% down. I kind of want to see what happens. I feel like this one could also just be a continuous fader. MOS, been tricky. I like it though, breaking down to this long range here. I like it for a continuation to the downside. So it's retested this little area again. It's under this long-standing trend line though, building lower highs on the daily time frame. under major moving averages. You know, it looks like it's on its last legs. A lot of agriculture names have sold off recently. If you look at these guys here, the only one I think that's holding up is CF. But, you know, this one has been a little bit weak. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see now it's been holding up this 48.50 level. If it breaks under and holds, I'd probably look for a short with a relatively tight stop or just small size, because I'd look to swing this one for a while. If it continues to break down, you can just see this one continuously fade back to $30 easily. If you look at IPI, it kind of did the same thing. Once it broke this bear flag, just faded. Next, we have NET. I'll be watching this one as well as a mean reversion. Down 34%, let's say, in a couple days. It's not ready yet as a mean reversion since it's a high ADR name. Although it's retesting this previous low. Kind of look for this one to, you know, make a couple big moves down here in the next few days, and then look for a mean reversion long in it as well. PI is another long setup I'm looking at. It's one of the best gap up episodic pivots that's actually held up. You can see it's kind of building this range here. Would be looking for it to tighten up a bit, you know, give us a viable range here, but also very market dependent. I don't really want to be buying breakouts in this market, but if there's a good setup, I'll take it with small size. RELL looks really good actually, but I'd be waiting a few days. It's just breaking over this huge range into all-time highs, you know, this is an old stock finally breaking its IPO highs, you could say, and one of the strongest stocks in the market right now. I'd like to look for this flag to fill out a little bit before breaking out, tighten up, but you know, huge volume day, gapped up, good news, has all the right elements to make a good runner here. ROG, not sure what to make of this one, but it's a low ADR name that had buyout news, which ultimately failed. The merger failed, so it's gapped down huge here. It originally gapped down about 45%, now down 55%. I'd like to see it test this 97 level, maybe on a gap down or 2-3 days of downward momentum for a reversal. But you know, this is not something I'm used to where the mergers fail, so I'll be playing this one with small size as well. RPD, I really like this one actually. Down 40% in 4 days right now. Also on some kind of earnings news. It's a software name, you know, like no tech names have been holding up recently. It's now in this range where it had some support previously. Ideally, for a perfect setup, I'd look for it to gap down Monday, maybe break these lows, and then have a nice reversal day to the upside. So break under this like 2680 level, and then take a trade over the opening range highs of the day, probably the 5-minute or 15-minute opening range highs. UHS, I was looking for this as a mean reversion, didn't take it as well just because I wanted that gap up, so this one's actually off the watch list. Wing, it's not ready yet. Definitely needs a couple more days for it to set up, to have some kind of setup, but still in a fairly tight range after this gap up and holding up decently well considering the market conditions, so it's on my watch list. Yelp usually wouldn't be on my watch list just because it's a lower ADR name. I usually don't even look at names under 4 ADR, but you know, it's down 25% here. If it can somehow get down to this $27 level, I'd be a lot more interested. Maybe gap down and then have a nice reversal long, just because it's a lower ADR name and moving pretty quickly in a couple days. That's the main watch list for this week. There's a couple others I'm watching. I can show you quickly, just like TWLO, down huge, but it's also, you know, a higher ADR name on earnings. So, you know, these are a little more risky plays. It's down on huge volume, so I want better setups before I'm going to look at these ones. There's ZI as well, DKNG, all similar concepts, you know, down big, earnings, etc., etc. This one too would probably look for it to test $10 before considering maybe another gap down. CVNA had a crazy move last week. This one might be setting up for a mean reversion eventually. It's basically had a capitulation now. This could like easily fade under all-time lows. We can see this a $5 stock. I mean, who knows? But there could be some kind of buyable trade in it eventually if we see another gap down or some huge follow-through like we had this day. So I'll be paying attention to it as well. There's also net. Oh, I went over this one already. Perfect. Okay. Lastly, I'm following some of the China names. But, you know, there's not any buyable setups or shortable setups in it right now just because it reclaimed after having some kind of mean reversion here. So far, fairly strong. But they'll be on my secondary radar, as I said. Definitely looking for these setups here as my main setups. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content.